We've got about 20 seconds. I try to be a little early, but I like being on time. I don't like being too early because then I throw everybody off. So I hope you'll indulge me here. We'll give it just a couple of more, well, probably about another 30 seconds. I will go ahead and welcome everybody as you come in. Thank you for coming. Today's going to be a big day in a lot of ways. I don't know about any of you, but I have not been sleeping the last couple days very much. Last night, Tracy Beans and I were still texting at like 3 o'clock my time. I guess she had gotten up about then, but because I'm 2 hours behind her. But yeah, just trying to analyze what's happening, and well, you know how it is. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started here. Hello, everyone. I'm Roy Potter, and this is the live stream version of the Potter Expositor. And before anybody says anything, okay, this picture here, no, I am not a black Venetian. Okay, I can hear you conspiracy theorists out there. I can hear it already. Oh, Roy's got a picture of Venice. He must be a black Venetian. So I balanced it out with the picture of a mule deer. Give us a little background here. One of these days I'll have, other than my map, I'd like to have something a little more substantial, but we're still working on that. But yeah, when I was deployed in 2001, 2002, between some assignments, I took some leave and met my wife in Venice. And we had a great 10 days there, and this tapestry, of course, is a memento of that. I took a lot of pictures around the bridge there. It was kind of our favorite spot. Bridges mean a lot. In my short movie called Loneliness, which is basically about the process of grieving and coming out of it, I had a bridge in that as well, because bridges symbolize, of course, moving from one thing to another, sometimes getting over an obstacle, a difficulty in life, for instance. And that was certainly how I viewed that, and of course many of you who've been there would understand what I'm talking about. So if you have had a thing like that happen, my heart goes out to you. But again, I'm not a black Venetian, so I don't want to hear any conspiracy theorists out there talking about that. All right, well, let's start off by saying that yes, today is National Freedom Day, February 1st, 2018. And it's a fairly significant day on a lot of levels. I think some definite things are going to happen today. For one, I believe we're going to see the release of the memo, despite all of the huss and fuss from Schiff and Schumer and the FBI and the DOJ, and actually the entire intelligence community. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. You notice I talked about in the title the wreck, and we're going to talk about that. I've done some research into that. No definitive answers as to who, what, where, when, why, or how, although we can, under circumstantial evidence, guess a lot of that fairly accurately. And then, of course, how all this ties into the Constitution and what we're going through right now, which, of course, has to do with National Freedom Day. I do want to make a couple of mentions. We were worried about President Trump there for a while. He hadn't tweeted in a long time, which is very unlike him, but he finally broke his silence this morning. And the last time I checked, there were 2 tweets out, one saying that he was on his way to this Republican retreat in West Virginia at the Greenbrier. The other person that I wanted to mention, because some people are concerned about him, is James Munder. James has done fantastic work. He, along with Isaac Green and Joshua Sather, are the up-and-coming generation to carry this ball forward. And apparently there was a white van he was nervous about, and he hasn't been heard from in 5 days now. A white van that was parked outside his living quarters. So we don't know what's happened there. Everybody's kind of keeping an eye out for him. If you know anything about it, please, let us know. James, we hope you're okay. We pray for your safety. I have to say that there is a lot of pressure on a lot of the people that are doing this work right now. A lot of pressure. A lot of things are happening. I found out some other things the other day, which I just addressed shortly, about microwaves, and then Betsy and Thomas of American Intelligence Media talked about the milliwaves and that whole 5G thing and the experimentation that's going along with it and the effects of it. That's a good way to get people to back off, shut down because you're not feeling well, and it happens at very odd times. So it's really not a tinfoil hat situation. It's for real. And I don't know if that's what's happened to James or if something else more nefarious has happened to him, but I do hope that everything is okay. But a lot of people are experiencing more censorship on YouTube and Twitter, more attacks by trolls. I think we all know that. Actual attempts at defamation, character assassination, and it'll get worse. I suspect, especially once this memo comes out and pure panic. Well, they're in panic now, but when they then try to react to it even more. Let me ask you if the sound in the picture is okay. Maybe you could let me know. It looks okay on my monitor. Again, my internet service is not the best, so it's probably not as clear as I'd like it. But the sound should be good. So are you hearing me okay? I think that's the major thing. I don't anticipate anybody calling in today. Thank you, Jesse, Chariot, all you guys are saying yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Just say a prayer for everybody that's actually out there doing these things. Like I said, it's nice to get out there and study, solve puzzles, get information, things like that, but we really have to do some actions of some sort. As small as writing a letter to a congressman, I know how ineffective that usually is, or a senator, but doing something, calling the offices, taking part in YouTube broadcasts, even as a chatter, unless you're a troll, of course. But even they have a useful purpose. I mean, if the trolls weren't there, we wouldn't know we're over the target, right? That's kind of like the flack. So we really appreciate you guys, even if the CIA or InfraGard, the FBI, Media Matters, George Soros, all those demons are paying you. Well, you got to be worth something, I guess, for doing that dirty work. So, okay, but we recognize you when we see you, okay? And it's really strange. When I first started this, I was told by some other YouTubers that had been doing it for a while. They said, don't even respond to the trolls, Roy, because I wanted to respond to everybody, and then eventually I got so I didn't respond to anyone, because now it just takes too much time to go through all of the comments and those things. But some of them will play out like they're your friend, like they agree with you or whatever, and then one day when you hit a hot topic that they've been told to watch for, they'll turn on you. And that's all part of the psychological operation. It causes you to doubt yourself. Well, it didn't me, but I mean, it could cause us. It made me upset that somebody would betray you like that, but that's the name of the game. That's what they're into, is deceit and betrayal. And so we see that all of the time, and it's just going to get worse. It's just obvious that that's going to be the case. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the wreck, because I'm sure everybody is interested in that. Before I say that, it's almost 100% certain that the memo will be released today. We'll talk some more about that. That's the House Intelligence Memo that Nunes and those guys put together and voted to make public. It went to the White House for its final evaluation and check. And apparently that was all done, and Chief of Staff General Kelly says that it is going to be released, and it's most likely going to be today. It should be. They shouldn't wait till Friday, because then they miss the news cycle, right? And nobody listens on Friday, because you know how that works. If you want to get out bad information that might cause you problems, you release it on Friday. So today is the very last day until they wait till next week, and they can't wait till next week. Release the memo, White House. Release the memo today. It must be done. You're being attacked, and there are going to be more attacks, and not releasing it isn't going to stop that. And I think most of us who are looking at this realize that that's the case. More false flags are coming, okay? And not just false flags. When I say false flags, of course, there are two types. The ones that didn't really happen and involve, stages, actors, or just a story that never occurred, but fed to the news media, or something that actually happens, but it's provoked by government officials, rogue or not, okay? Both sides have done that, rogue and not rogue, under the auspices and sanctions of leadership in the government. So, I make that distinction between rogue and not, but really it's beyond that. They're all rogue as far as I'm concerned. I think most of you know how I feel about that. Okay, let's talk about the helicopter crash a little bit. I'm sorry, the train wreck. You know where I'm going now, right? Talking about the helicopter crash. Yes, it ties in. If you haven't heard, there was a helicopter crash in Newport Beach, California, and that is tied into everything that's going on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I stayed up all night doing this. I won't give you everything about it, but I'll give you all of it kind of brought down into a nutshell. And I'll try to keep my eyes out on the chat room here. I understand we might have some special visitors coming on. We won't be talking to them on the phone, but they might drop into the chat room. So I'll try to remember to watch that. And pardon me, you guys who said you'd come in. You know how I'm not a good multitasker anymore. Okay, and I don't want to wear glasses. Like Lionel Nation. He has those glasses on. And, I'm watching the glasses. I'm not really listening to him sometimes. So I should wear my reading glasses. My eyes are getting that bad now. But at any rate, boy, I'm talking a lot this morning. Okay, so the train wreck. What's going on here? Well, I did some research, and it was after the Republican retreat last year that the Republicans decided that they were going to have their retreat this year at Greenbrier. So that wasn't a last-minute effort to go flee to safety. I got some information yesterday, and it sounded like, they jumped on the train because of the threats and they're headed up there. And then I heard that there were 2 wrecks, that the train hit a semi and then the garbage truck. And all kinds of crazy information is coming out, and some of it from sources that are normally pretty good. But I think everybody I'm not blaming anyone here. We're all on the edge of our seat. We just know that the deep state, the intelligence community, the New World Order, Clinton, Obama, all of these people will not stop at nothing to keep this information from coming out, number one, and if it does, to retaliate. So we're all on the edge of our seat. So I'm not upset with anybody. I talked to a very good Republican friend last night. He's probably listening, my Republican insider, and he said, Roy, be careful what you say. There's a lot of disinformation out there. This is probably what really happened. So just take your time and check everything out. Make sure you vet everything. So, which I would have done anyway, but it's always good to have his input. You wouldn't believe how he has helped me out. It's nice to have these really intelligent, understanding people who understand how the system works. Almost in totality to help you to navigate some of this. So at any rate, so again, this wasn't a last-minute run for safety. This was planned a year ago to go to Greenbrier. Now it is true that Greenbrier it's a magnificent resort. It has a wonderful hotel, great accommodations. The bunker is there. It's underneath the hotel. It's probably huge. But that's not the reason that they went there. I'm not saying that they weren't maybe foreseeing the possibility that this, because when you understand how op plans in the military and op orders work, there is a timetable. So they could have figured, well, on the State of the Union, Trump's going to do this. And, somehow at that point they knew that they would be revealing the information about what's going on inside the FBI, the DOJ, and the IC, and the Clintons and the Obamas and all that. So it's possible, and that's why they chose Greenbrier a year ago. But I don't think that was a last-minute, run. Well, it wasn't. It wasn't a last-minute run for safety. They did take some of the GOP members there, did take their families with them, which was another indication at first that we thought that maybe some real threats had been made. And again, I'm not saying that threats weren't made. I'm just saying that that wasn't the primary reason for growing to Greenbrier, as far as we can tell, because it was a planned thing from a year ago. But having been a planned thing, the IC, of course, the rogue FBI, and frankly, I like to just say the FBI completely, the intelligence community, they're not trustworthy. You know, people keep trying to make apologetics for the intelligence community. The intelligence community deserves no apologies. Okay, it doesn't deserve any quarter at this time. Even the people that are there trying to do a good job, you know, they're adding to the deceit, whether they realize it or not. They're adding to everything bad that's happening. You know, the IC keeps pointing to, especially with this memo thing, oh, you know, release a memo, it might endanger national security. That's always the excuse. No, the IC is the danger to national security. Prima facie, in your face, manifestly so. And it has been at least since the Kennedy assassination, and probably before that. So at any rate, I just wanted to dispel all those rumors that, you know, it was a flight at the last minute. The IC, of course, would have known the path of the train. Just so you know, Paul Ryan, not all congressmen and senators get protection. None of them get Secret Service protection, even though, like Paul Ryan is after the vice president, is the next one in line for the presidency, and then it's the president pro tem of the Senate, who at this point in time is Orrin Hatch. But that's not, they're the ones that get protection, and it's not from the Secret Service, it's from the Capitol Police. They have a Capitol Police Executive Protection Unit that handles all of that. And basically it's very, very similar to the Secret Service protection for the president or executive protection for commanders and chiefs of the major commands around the world. So, although that's done by CID and naval intelligence and those types of people. But at any rate, Paul Ryan did have his. They go with him everywhere. This executive protection unit goes with him everywhere, all the time. So they were with him. I understand that there was a helicopter or two that were watching the tracks. They had closed down the roads to those crossings, but one of them got through. Not surprising when you have the IC, especially the CIA and the FBI, planning this thing well ahead of time. I'm not sure who was driving the truck. I'm not sure if they knew what was going on. One of them was apparently killed either before the accident or during the accident. I'm not sure which, and I'm not sure that we'll ever find out the truth of that. Although I think that maybe Trump will have his people look at it very, very closely. It's a tragedy for the guys that got hit in that truck. Tragedy for the people on the train. One congressman apparently did get hospitalized, I guess, with a major broken leg, and there were a lot of bumps and scrapes and those types of things. But apparently there weren't any injuries. But there's no doubt that this was intended to be a derailing event and probably take out all of those GOPers, or at least a good number of them. First of all, as a warning, and second of all, as a payback for having spit in the face, and rightly so, of the IC, the FBI and the DOJ in particular. However, there might be, a possibility that, there were other organizations involved as well. We know that Comey, according to Q, I still bring him up, don't I? Or them. She. It's probably a she, as Monty says. I think the evidence is starting to show that. But at any rate, that Comey apparently did order the sleeper cells to activate, and warnings of 187 and all of that stuff, which of course is murder, retribution, those types of things. The FBI is a big protection racket, right? Prima facie evidence, Ray. Prima facie evidence, McCabe. Prima facie evidence, Comey. Prima facie evidence, Mueller. Okay? You're a protection racket. And if we don't bow down to you and serve you, you just don't protect us. As a matter of fact, you might frame us, like you did the Bundys, like you did, well, how many? I mean, I could just start naming a whole lot of people here. Like you're trying to frame Donald Trump. At the behest, by the way, of the DNC, the Clintons, the Podestas, the Obamas, Yeah. You know, and that's another thing I wanted to say. Who's in charge of the FBI and the DOJ? Is the FBI and the DOJ, are they in charge of Congress and the president? They sure think they are. They think that they're the central part of the government. They think that they're the ones in charge. That's what happens when you let these people run loose. And they have acted this way for decades. Well, I think if we look at the Constitution, which the last time I checked, you're still required to take an oath to, Wray, Sessions, Mueller, Comey, etc. Although you probably crossed your fingers behind your back, right? Yeah, sure. You're supposed to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And in it plainly states that you're subject to congressional and executive oversight, not the other way around. So we as a people, I hope this continues. I hope Trump continues down this road. I do hope he does. We the people with Trump are going to put you back in your place, and I hope we eliminate most of these three-letter agencies that are nothing but blood-sucking parasites. The FBI has to go out there and make terrorists. They can't even find them to arrest. And by the way, FBI, that brings up another question, right? Where were you with this attack on the train? Where were you? Oh, it was an accident. No, that was all an accident. Yeah, right. No, well, none of us believe that. None of us believe that. So, oh, here, hold on a second. I got to look at this. I get impressed by some of the people that tell you this to keep up with it all. I hope you'll let me say something about that. Who just texted me? I hope you'll let me tell everybody that you just told me that. And yes, it's true. If you're listening, he may have just texted me, not realizing I'm even live right now. But at any rate, so yeah, where were you? Yeah, you didn't stop the Riverside shooting. You didn't stop the Las Vegas shooting. You didn't stop, well, the Boston bombing you planned, and the CIA was planning against you because that was a power struggle. I've talked about that. But at any rate, you didn't stop that, right? You didn't stop the Garland shooter. As a matter of fact, when they went after Pam Geller and Gert Wilders, you, FBI, were helping them to get there. And then fled after the shooting started because you didn't want to get caught. You're liars, deceivers. You are corrupt to the core. You're murderers. You're thieves. You're not out to protect the American people. You're out there to protect you and the corrupt officials that grease your palms. And I'll say that forever until you're disbanded. And it's like I've said over a year now. And I talked about the CIA. Trump needs to send the CIA in, which a lot of people thought the Marine thing going in there, the MEU, was after the CIA. Of course, it didn't really happen that way, but I would have been totally for it if it had. Other than the dangers for the Americans who live close by there, it could have been a really nasty situation if that had really happened that way. But in fact, the military needs to, and I don't trust all of the military. I know that there are people in there that aren't any good. I know that. I worked there for how many years? Man, when I went back to the Pentagon, I was totally disgusted by what I saw. And what I learned at the War College, I wasn't a student there. I was part of the cadre for a short time. What I saw at the Command and General Staff College was actually pretty good. But still, the mentality of these people just frustrated me. It's not a warrior attitude. It's a we. And I'm sorry if I'm hurting anybody's feelings here. And of course, these are officers, right? You enlisted guys, you work for a living, right? The officers should appreciate you, should understand that you are what make them. The officers don't make themselves. No, the enlisted make the officer. They form them, they train them, they mold them, they show them how to do things. The schooling doesn't do it. It's UNCOs and good officers will realize that. But some of them are heady, right? And they have ulterior motives. And it's mostly the officers, of course, the officer corps that has ruined the Department of Defense. And of course the civilian side, the senior executive service. But regardless of that, I don't trust the DOD. I just know that, at least under the president, with the way the IC is, that really the IC needs to be taken down by force. Now, it's kind of being done, okay? I think we're seeing that, and this memo is part of that, but that's the whole idea. These people don't understand reason, they don't understand logic, they don't understand negotiation, and they sure as hell don't understand the Constitution of the United States and where they fit into it, right? So the only thing they do understand is force. It's unfortunate, but they brought us to this point, and they're the problem. They are our greatest and most dangerous domestic enemy, maybe the most dangerous enemy in the world. And who run them? The Rothschilds, the Clintons, the Obamas. I don't know that Soros runs them. I'm not so sure about that, but he sure is a front man for him. Okay, well, I've been ranting off long enough on that. So that's about the train wreck. We also heard that there were, like I said, two. We thought there were two wrecks. There weren't. There was just one. I looked at the damage on the front of the locomotive, the engine, and it's consistent with one impact, not two. Not direct impacts. There could be some secondaries, but definitely not two impacts. And then everybody's looking at the scene at the end there where the truck and the contents were laying on the ground. Don't forget that train doesn't stop on a dime. It probably moved down the track to the next stop there until it could actually stop its forward motion. So I think the rest of it is pretty much consistent with one impact. The question is how did it get there with all the security in place? Well, it's like the 9/11 event. There are ways for the IC, the rogue people, I'll go ahead and say that for now, the rogue people, to engineer that, to make that happen. But certainly a heavy truck like that, its intent was to derail that train. And I guess the front wheels of the train did go off the track. So it was an attempted assassination. It was a message. And a warning, a message that, hey, you shouldn't have voted to release this IC information, the memo, number one, number two, do anymore, and 187, just like Comey was intimating in his tweet. Okay, so I think that's pretty much about the train. I think we'll leave that here for right now. Let me look at this real quick. Let's talk about the memo for just a minute. Again, I'm certain, nearly 100%, that it will be released today. It has to. I mean, when I look at the battle space, the battlefield, and how things are shaping up, the warnings from rats like Schiff and Schumer, and the Q posts say to trust Wray and trust Sessions. Well, I still got to see fruits to go along with that, and I'm not seeing them. Is it a charade? Is it a play? Maybe, but that doesn't mean I have to buy into it until the final act. Okay, and so I'm waiting to find out what happens there. But I don't think that there's any doubt that there are people that we need to be careful of, even if we're told to accept them. I mean, the best of intelligence operatives, the very, very best, can be fooled. Okay? So I still got to see the fruits of this. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the case with that. Now, let's talk a little bit about Schiff. I'm not so sure that Schumer's involved in this, maybe peripherally. Let's talk about Schiff and his actions yesterday and today. There was a helicopter crash in Newport Beach yesterday, or day before, was it yesterday? Sorry, I stay up all night, so I lose. Anyway, there was a helicopter crash in Newport Beach. And a couple of the people on that aircraft, on that helicopter, were high-end managers. One for the resort in Hollywood. I'm not sure where the other one was from, but it's from a company, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's called The Standard. The Standard Hotels Boutique. And despite the fact that I don't look at Q, there are people that sent me some information saying, look what's being said here. So I followed that through, and the Anons did a great job there. Whether I feel inclined to watch Q right now or not, again, I'm not saying for you folks not to. It's good to discuss it. It's good to get that information there, but I don't put all my eggs in that basket. But looking at what the Anons uncovered there, I have to agree that there is a tie-in. I will be careful how I say this. If you go to the Standard Hotels boutique, they'll probably take down all their websites now, and you look at those things, if you have any understanding of all the things that have been said about human trafficking and all of that, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but there are some very odd things on their websites about their hotels. And there was an incident that happened on Catalina Island some time ago involving the knowledge of Adam Schiff. And it's tied into this entire group of the Standard Hotels and some other politicians and donors in California, where Schiff, of course, is. That's his area there. Again, I'm not going to name any names. I'm just giving you a few crumbs, as Q would say, to go look for yourself. I don't have I have the circumstantial evidence from what I've seen, but not firsthand. So that's hearsay. So I'm just saying there are some things there that need to be examined. I am certain, obviously, that the White House and Trump's investigators and criminal investigators and members of the military who are acting on all of this are aware of these connections, and that's why Schiff is so upset. He knows that he's going to be put in the frying pan. He's already there, and he is desperately looking for a way to deflect these proofs, these evidences against his involvement in numerous improprieties at the least. Okay, and it could be worse than that, and of course it is, but I'll just leave it at that. So they are related because there was something there that obviously ties into this entire thing with Schiff not wanting the memo to come out. So you have the train wreck to try to change the narrative in the media about the memo. The train wreck was really, as it turns out, pretty much insignificant other than we realize what it was. But as far as now changing the narrative in the news media, it really failed to do that. So that failed. And now this helicopter crash is going to bring more scrutiny on Adam Schiff. So he's doing everything he can to deflect all of this that's now coming at him like 1,000 arrows from Wallace, and if you've watched Braveheart, that kind of a thing. They're all coming right for him, and Schumer and Pelosi, McCain, and we could go down the list. Those are the people in the Senate and the Congress, of course, in the House of Representatives, and then of course the people in the IC that I've named many times, and all of their cronies throughout there, from Hayden to Clapper to Brennan to Comey to Mueller to Breitzig in Oregon, Rouse in LV. You know what I'm saying. All of those people and all of their cronies underneath who are too chicken and worried more about their paycheck and their pension. Not even their kids. Can you believe that? They're not even worried about the future of their kids. They're willing to sell their kids out in the long run to this tyranny. Pardon me for just a minute. So it's all tied together. I'm going to tell you about this one picture on the Standard Hotels website. I think it was the one for New York, I believe. And you can go there and look at this for yourself. I'll just say it's a person sitting there, nails painted, nail polish, holding a ping pong paddle down at the groin area, and it says ping pong on their shirt. Does that sound familiar to anybody? And that's only the beginning. There's a lot more. So this situation with the helicopter crash and the standard, I feel really bad. The lady there, Kimberly Lynn Watkin, I think was her name, something like that. I didn't write it down. I think it's sad, but then again, apparently her involvement must have been pretty significant. Now, I'm going to go here. I've already told you about the picture. I'm going to tell you something here that I've alluded to in the past, but I haven't gotten into in any great depth, and I still won't get into any great depth here. And there are people that are listening that'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Back about well, it's coming up on 6 years ago now. I started to see some activity that was very questionable amongst some people that I was acquainted with. I thought we were friends, but it was very likely that I was being used at the time. Why, I could speculate for a lot of reasons. But don't forget that I had been involved in the Franklin cover-up investigation, which is not debunked. A lot of people out there believe it was debunked. It was not. As a matter of fact, it was substantiated during the Sandusky Penn State investigation, arrest, and prosecution because we, who had been involved in the Franklin cover-up investigation, had found evidence leading to Penn State, and Senator DeCamp had and put that information in his book. Plus, there's a lot of other things I could throw into this mix, which I'm not going to do here, to show you my involvement in this, both in the pedophilia side and in the human trafficking side, what we were trying to uncover. In fact, we did, but of course the powers that be didn't want to. They covered it up, and I can attest to the fact that they covered it up because I was there and I saw it happen on at least two occasions directly. So. At any rate, as I said, I was familiar with these people, and there were some anomalies going on, some things that weren't adding up. And so I did a little investigation of my own. Of course, I've done these things before. And I won't tell you all the details, but I can tell you that I traced a human trafficking sex ring to Dana Point, California. I talked to a former police chief, not of Dana Point, but from another place, and he said, "Oh, no, that can't be because, you know, they're very tight down there and all that." Well, either he was covering for them or he didn't really know. I think it was probably he didn't really know. But there was, in fact, a substantial apparatus, and I'm going to call it an apparatus, in Dana Point, California. And yes, I have given this information. I talked about it maybe a year or two ago, I don't remember, with a dead man's trigger. Not that I didn't want to do something about it, but the circumstances of all this are such that it's difficult to do. I didn't have any pictures of children, although I did hear about it secondhand from these people in a roundabout way, and also young women too. So, but it was veiled, let me put it that way. However, with this revelation about the Standard Hotel, because it did involve some hotels, I'm not going to say which ones, but it did involve some hotels, and it led back to Dana Point and Burbank and Los Angeles and Hollywood. And now, as I follow those leads, and I'm telling everybody this up front, it does lead back to Pennsylvania again and Northern Maryland. I won't go any further than that, but those out there who need to know that information will know, well, first of all, now they have it, they'll know that I know it. And second of all, those who are guilty of these things, who have been taking part in these things, know that I know it, although they actually knew it back about 6 years ago. Well, let's see, it wouldn't be that. It'd be about 5 years ago now when they found out that I had uncovered this. Almost ended up with cement shoes on me in the Pacific Ocean. It was very close, a very close call. And like I say, there are people out there who can verify all of this, but I'm not going to ask them to come forward and say, yeah, that really did happen. But very serious situation, and it was very sad. I think a lot of those, some of those individuals haven't been busted yet. Their lower end foot soldiers, the procurers, those people are being scarfed up. We heard about another 500 people being arrested just the other day, and it's going to escalate, and then it's going to start moving up the line, and it will get to the upper echelons of corporations and governments, the IC, people like Clinton and Podesta and all that. There's no doubt that that's where it's going. It just can't happen fast enough for the good of our nation. I think Trump is trying to do it in a measured response because it is going to be so devastatingly hurtful to the people of the country to realize that this has been going on to this extent. It really can cause some emotional and even some psychological reactions, and I think Trump is trying to protect those people from that. All of us, really. But sometimes, President Trump, you just have to move forward because the evils that are being committed are worse than not taking the action that you're capable of taking. War isn't easy, and it hurts people, even those who aren't involved. But there's no choice now, sir. You got to go for it. You got to go all in. So I'm here saying that. I think Craig Sawyer would agree with me, and others. We really can't wait any longer. And tough luck if it embarrasses the government. It's time to clean this atrocity out from the top to the bottom. And no, I don't give any quarter to people who are just doing their job. I'm sorry, I don't. And again, in the military, I didn't just do my job. More than once I stood up and spoke out, even to the media, okay? Which is, again, I didn't go any further than Lieutenant Colonel. Well, I was kind of a lackluster officer anyway, but when you're called to testify against a guy who's a brigadier general, actually he's on the brigadier general's list at the time, but that's basically the same thing. You're done. And I knew that at the time, and it proved out to be true. So anyway, I think that's what I wanted to cover this morning. Let's see what we've got in the chat room going on here. Yeah, those who follow unlawful orders. Podesta's artwork. Yeah. How can anybody look at Tony and John Podesta's artwork and not know what that's about? If you or I posted that stuff on the internet or had it on our camera and sent it to a friend of yours, you'd have a knock at your front door and they'd arrest you for child porn and all of that. You know they would. But these guys, privileged class, and it's wrong. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely release the memo. Is the DNC dead? Have you ever watched a movie where they shoot the bad guy and the bad guy's laying down and you're saying to yourself, finish him off, you're making a mistake, finish him off, and they don't, and they walk away, and then the bad guy shows up like 10 minutes later and starts shooting at him? That's the DNC. Look out. Another one is when in the movie Lord of the Rings, the King of Rohan wants to kill Wormtongue, and why? I mean, this was the dumbest part of the movie for me. King Aragorn stops the King of Rohan from killing Wormtongue and says, "No, there's been enough bloodshed already." Are you kidding me? Look at the bloodshed that happened after that because Wormtongue went and told Saruman, how to get back to and kill all the people in Rohan. No, we can't give them any quarter. But that's the point. The DNC is laying there, it's twittering, it's spasming and all that. And it looks like it's going to expire. No, it's not done yet. Until it gets the headshot, it's not done yet. Sorry, it's just the truth. Okay. Let's see if there's anything. Support Pam Jones. Yes. Great things on the chemtrails. If you're listening to American Intelligence Media or anybody else that's out there talking about a monograph, a lot of people are doing this, talking about the 5G nanotech, what works, where this is going. We need to have, and I talked again to this Republican individual about this very thing, And he said he just can't believe that Trump would support this, even though his administration is saying so, particularly who in the administration is really pushing it. Not the FCC chairman. He's actually against it. But who else? The National Security Council. Oh, why does that surprise anybody? All those Trotskyite neocon deep staters in there who want to control every single man, woman, child, tree, blade of grass, etc., etc. You know, the old thing with Sauron, you know, wants to control all life, wants to be in control of all life. What a demonic group of people. I'm sorry, I don't trust them. So at any rate, the 5G thing is a problem, and we have to ask President Trump as much as we have on the memo. This is why I said we don't want to get. There are phase lines in combat. There are intermediate objectives to the final objective. I understand all that, all you guys and ladies out there who are trying to remind me of it. I know he can't do it all at once, but this is a serious one. Okay, this is serious. Not that it's going to happen tomorrow, but I do believe, because I think it's actually happened to a lot of us, that these things are being turned on a lot of the patriots already. And it's a dangerous thing. So 5G needs to be corralled. Eric Schmidt, I sent out a tweet yesterday explaining the thing with Eric Schmidt and the fact he wants to be the king of the world with this. They said that Elon Musk is fighting him too, but Elon Musk might be doing it on behalf of Trump. I'm not saying that's a fact, but there is a fight between those two to get control of these satellites that will control the whole 5G network. It's more than a surveillance grid. It can actually be used to take your will from you, or to force you to do things you wouldn't do, or to keep you from doing things you would do. That last one might sound like a good thing. Oh, stop the criminals. That'll be the excuse, but that's not how it's going to work, okay? It's going to keep you from being able to speak your mind. It's going to keep you from exercising your rights, etc., those types of things. So it's a very evil thing, and I'm not against technology, but in the wrong hands, as we've seen through our entire history, this technology, whatever it is, from the bow and arrow to now the 5G network, plasma weapons, directed energy weapons, whatever. These things get into the wrong hands, and it's a bad thing. So all those movies and books about, you know, the mad scientist wanting to take over the world and all that, it's true. You know, Einstein and other scientists have said that scientists should run the world because they'll use logic and reason. No, they're still men. And when they're presented with the opportunity for power, they take it. The only guarantee that the people will remain free is for the power to be dispersed amongst the people, which is what our founding fathers discovered. And that's why the federal government has turned into such an evil leviathan, because it's trying to accumulate all that power to itself, when the idea was to keep it down as low as possible in the states and in the counties and the cities, etc. That's the only way to defeat this thing. It can't be done any other way. The people have to be the last arbiters of their freedom, the last guardians of their freedom. Not the Supreme Court. Judge Learned Hand even said that. You can't depend even on the military. You really have to do it yourself. And it's a dangerous thing. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's where we have to go. Sorry I get going so far here. Let's see what we have here. The shadow government is, again, it's in death throes. I believe that. But it's not dead until the headshot. Okay, so we got to watch out. Yeah, I'm aware of Von Reitz, by the way, and her information. Where do you follow Field McConnell? Yes, actually, Field and I have communicated on a number of occasions, but I mostly keep in touch with some of his agents. And so, yeah, I do, and I'm very aware of a lot of the things that they say. Okay, let me see. The FBI is the seat of government. Yeah, the FBI is actually, the whole IC is trying to become the seat of government, Jeffrey. Yeah. Okay. Anything else here that we can talk about? Let me see if any of the people I asked to come on are in the chat room. And if I see a question here that, you guys, that's really good, we'll try to use that. Saw Field's F4 video. Yeah, well, he was quite a pilot, wasn't he? Field and David are awesome. Yeah, I agree. Okay, are you for real or more distraction tactics? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Now, if those of you who are watching the chat room, and this has happened so many times, I've been called a shield for the New World Order and the deep state. People asking me if I'm for real. Hey, go Google me. I've been doing this since I was in high school. Okay? My mother was a staff officer in World War II for then General Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander in Europe. She was friends with him up until he died. Okay? I heard a lot of things in those days when I was growing up. And it set me on this course. I'm different. There's no doubt about it. I don't believe the traditional stuff in the churches. No, I go back to the original documents, the original scriptures in the original languages, and that's how I determined what I should believe. I use the scriptures to interpret themselves. I don't do it for them. The scriptures are of no private interpretation. Am I real? Hey, I'm still a man. Yeah, I make errors and all that. Absolutely. You know, sometimes I have blinders on and I don't see the forest for the trees. You know, and I could tell you a lot of stories about that. I kind of already did today, if you're reading between the lines, on this investigation in California I did. But, yeah, what you see is what you get. I'm not a good actor. And if you don't believe that, I've got something you can go see on this channel. I believe it's still on the channel, unless they took it down. You know, I wrote a book called The Crimson Thread. And it's an historical novel. It's based on historical study. It's not a rehash of the New Testament. So you don't see miracles. You don't see all that stuff. You know, it's based on the history. And I even explain some of the miracles by, you know, just using the scientific method that was available to them in those days. But at any rate, it's an historical novel, okay? And if you go read that, or if you want to, I'm not saying you need to buy the book. It's very boring, by the way. I notice a lot of people have been buying it. Not that I was trying to encourage that, because I'm a historian, I'm not a novelist, so it's very dry. The introduction is actually the best part of the book, I think. But the rest of it is my effort at being a fiction writer, and it's tough when you're trying to do it historically accurate and then make it like it's certainly not a page burner, put it that way. But at any rate, I was encouraged to make a movie of it myself, because nobody else would, of course. And I think I've told this story before. And it's very hard. Getting the people together was my greatest challenge, and that's why I never actually finished it. It was supposed to, the plan and the script was actually going to be about a 2-hour, 10-minute on-screen production movie, final product. And because of all the problems with trying to get the actors together and all of that, the technical difficulties were still there. If you saw the Muhammad video that supposedly that Clinton and Rice and those guys said caused the riots in Benghazi, it wasn't that. But my production would be that level of expertise, because I was on a very tight budget, obviously. But my biggest problem was the actors, trying to get them together. So we never finished it. The whole movie, as I finally finished it up, was only about an hour and 10 minutes, and it's really spotty. But the reason why I bring that up is because of my acting ability. It doesn't exist. No one wanted to play Pilate, Pontius Pilate, because he's such an evil guy in history. He's not the nice guy that the movies try to tell you he is, or that when you read the scriptures you get the idea that he really liked Jesus. No, he didn't. Not at all. Okay, not at all. And he was a very wicked man. But at any rate, nobody wanted to play Pilate, so I had to. And I told Monograph about this because he's so good at everything he does. And he made that small production. Well, he's made several small productions for YouTube, etc., for the dangers of prostitution and other things. But and the New World Order, and how it gets involved in all those human trafficking type things. But at any rate, so if you want to know how bad of an actor I am, no, I'm not putting on. Go look at that movie. It's only an hour. You'll get a laugh out of it, if nothing else, and watch. When I play Pontius Pilate, you'll look at that, you go, oh my gosh, Oh, I played a Roman soldier at one point also, but I'm not really acting there. You don't actually even see my face. And a few other little stand-ins that I did. But no, I'm no actor. What you see is what you get. So, and then the how I made the movie is probably more interesting than the movie itself. It's actually kind of funny. Some of the things that happen, all those bloopers that occurred during filming and preparation. And I have Jesus sitting there. The guy that played Jesus is a son of a very dear friend of mine. And we're taping this one scene where he's talking in a very pious, spiritual manner. And we say cut, and he picks up a beer and he takes a drink. I mean, it's just those kinds of things are just funny. They're just hilarious. So it's called The Making of the Crimson Thread, and I think it's in about six different, I think it's 6 videos on YouTube. It broke down into 6 parts, if I remember. All the music's mine, though. I wrote it and performed all that myself, so at least you get to hear some of that. Okay, so am I real? Judge for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I don't take your money. I don't care about fame. I don't care about fortune. Oh, I enjoy this at times, but it's also a headache. Literally, I get... As I said, there are things happening where I get headaches. I've never been one to succumb to character assassination or defamation. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt my feelings. It does. I don't think I'd be human if it didn't. But I don't let it stop me. As a matter of fact, if it does anything, it makes me go harder. So you guys at Media Matters, in the CIA, in the FBI, in InfraGard, or just people that just like to stir the crap, obviously it doesn't work with me, so why don't you just knock it off? Go somewhere else, All right, so anyway, what you see is what you get. I am what I am. And anybody who knows me will tell you that. Oliver North these days, no idea. I've never had any respect for Oliver North. I don't to this day. I'm probably one of the few Army officers that didn't care for Oliver North because he said he would violate the Constitution to defend it. Absurd. Absurd. No, I don't trust him at all. I'm sorry, I don't. Not at all. Yeah, don't feed the trolls, Aunt CC. That's exactly right. Isaac Green told me that one day. He says, don't feed them, Roy, don't feed them. But, sometimes you have to at least answer so everybody else knows where you're coming from. Maybe that's not necessary, but, we all do it. We all step up to that every once in a while. You're the real deal, Colonel Potter. We've got your 6. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. And hopefully I've got yours, okay? All right, let's see here if there's anybody else that has any questions about the subject matter. No, I don't live in Arizona. I travel the western states pretty much constantly, anywhere from Arizona to Washington State, from Colorado to California. I'm all over, okay? It's because it's what I do. Favorite sidearm to carry? Well, I'm sold on the 45 Colt, the 45 Auto. That's the sidearm I trained with in the Army, and then they went to the Beretta 9mm, which was a big mistake. The military should never have done that for lots of reasons. I was against it. So my favorite is the 1911 design, and the 45. It's adequate. I mean, there are a lot. The 10mm is a great round. The 40 millimeter is a great round, and basically it's the same caliber as the 10mm, but it doesn't kick as much. The velocity is a little lower, a little more controllable. If I couldn't have a 45, and I like semi-autos for obvious reasons. If I couldn't have a 1911, I'd take a 40 caliber, probably in a SIG or an H&K, something like that. But my old 1911, I like it, and I'm excellent with it. Nobody wants to mess with me. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. All right. The 45 long Colt shotgun ammo. Oh yeah, the Judge. That's an excellent piece, but it's awfully big for carry. For home defense, it's great. or at a campsite or something like that. Yeah, that's the thing. So many of these things are personal choices. I carried a .44 Magnum for years, even as a police officer. And I still have a lot of respect for the .44, but it's slow reloading, of course, in a self-defense situation. If I'm out in the woods, oh yeah, I'll take my .44. But for self-protection, the .45 is ideal, and it hides well. And if you know how to use it, it's quick to put into action. Okay, so just that. Okay, any other things? .45 shoots soft, yes, and it's got a lot of impact, a lot of good impact. Its diameter, it's velocity and muzzle energy wise, it's not the best, but it's the size of that slug coming down the pipe. Whatever it hits is not going to want to get back up. It's just the way it is. He will talk guns, but not actual. Who's that? You want me to talk actual events with guns? I don't think you want me to do that. Okay. Gain trust and then show the real colors. I got to answer some of these trolls. The best way to judge somebody is, there's an old saying, and I forget exactly how it goes, but, an old dog doesn't usually learn new tricks. He doesn't change his colors. Like I said, I've been at this too long. Am I trying to convince anybody? Hey, it's like I did once before, right? I signed off for a week. At least I tried to. So many things happened, though, I had to come on, if you remember that. I don't need this. I want people to understand what the perfect law of liberty is. You think I'm going to talk about the perfect law of liberty and then change? The devil won't divide himself, ladies and gentlemen. He knows better. Okay? He might tell you 99 truths to lie to you once, but not when you're talking about the perfect law of liberty, because that goes against everything he and his cronies stand for. You'll never hear the devil talk about the importance of the perfect law of liberty, which is really the gospel. So that in itself proves that I'm not out here to give you a big line and then turn on you at the last minute. Am I going to speak my mind if I see something that isn't right? Yeah, and I've done that, and a lot of you have seen me do it. A couple times it made me really angry because I thought that the people that did it, even if they had good intentions, they went too far with the wrong message in the wrong way. But there again, you see me for what I really am. I'm a Trump supporter, but how many times have I called him on the carpet? Put his feet to the fire. I'm doing it on this 5G thing now. I don't like the fact that he hasn't pulled the dark budget of the CIA. I talked about that the other day on the live stream with Catherine Austin Fitts information. All right? So no, I'm not a yes man. I never have been. I never will be. And I'm not trying to lead anybody down the wrong side. Am I going to make mistakes? Yeah. But that's where your judgment comes in. If you don't trust me, hey, that's your judgment. I'm not asking for your trust. I'm giving you information. We're talking information. We're discussing things. It's like Monograph and me. The other day, he's totally sold that Trump, not necessarily Trump, but this whole, Make America Great Again and everything that's going on is just a ploy to keep us pacified, Q in particular, until they can get the 5G thing in and give us the chips and then control us. My point is that yes, that's going on, but I don't think Trump is behind it. I don't think Trump wants that. But if I'm wrong, and if he is, I'm going to come down on him. So there you have it. Okay. All right. Let me see if there are any other questions here that I can answer. Yeah, I'm looking to see if anybody has come on there that I thought we might hear from, but they're not. And I'm looking. Roy, do you know about the Pelican Project? Ooh, no, I can't say I do. Or if I do, I know it by another name, but it doesn't sound familiar. Actually, it does, but I can't really put my finger on it right now. In the Antarctica. Good thing you brought that up. The go-to guy for that, as far as I know, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are doing it, but personally, Jordan Sather, Destroying the Illusion. You want to know about Antarctica, go to his channel. He does webinars. He does personal interviews with people that know about this stuff and about the secret space program and all that. Jordan Sather, for me, is the go-to guy. I'm not an expert on Antarctica. I know that Admiral Byrd went down there and he said some things. I know that lately people like John Kerry have gone down there, and why? What's in Antarctica that's such an issue? There's some secrets there. It's the only place that I know of. Let me think if I can. It's the only place that I know of that any kind of treaty that the United States has ever made, they've stuck to it. Okay, as far as I know. So there's something else going on in Antarctica. I really don't know the details, but there's something down there that is, or around there, if you get my drift. I don't know what the truth is about everything. I have a lot of doubts about what scientists have been saying for the last, supposed scientists for the last 400, 500 years. And there's evidence to suggest that they've been pulling the wool over our eyes for various reasons. One is the theory of evolution. Even back in college when I took the course on genetics and biology and zoology and evolution and all that, evolution, it's a theory. There's no way that they can reproduce it in a laboratory, not even with thousands of generations of fruit flies, Drosophila. It just, colors will change and things like that, but the actual genetics never really change. You don't go from one thing to another. But the real thing that challenges the theory of evolution is the second law of thermodynamics. And I brought that up to a college professor in biology, and I said, why do you keep pushing, I said this in class, he booted me out, by the way. I said, why do you keep pushing this in class when then the theory of relativity flies in the face of the second law of thermodynamics? He couldn't answer me. He says, get out of my class. See what I mean? I just call it like I see it. So anyway, Tracy Beans, wonderful. Tracy Beans put up some new info on the memo. Yeah, she said she was going to be working on that. As a matter of fact, she was working on it all night long. That and this train wreck thing, we were going back and forth on it. So I will look that out. Evolution is spelled with one E. That's no theory. End of story. David, okay, whatever. Yeah, any background on the driver and passenger? Not as of yet. All of this could be surreptitious in a lot of ways. It's really up to Trump and his team to get through this. We don't have the capability, you and I, us, we don't have the ability to get that kind of information. Obviously, there are a lot of questions involved. Even if these guys didn't know what they were doing, they were put into play somehow. Knowingly or unknowingly, they were put into play. Okay. Oh, somebody's saying there's a DC train wreck now. Like I said, we're going to be seeing a lot of stuff in the next few days to try to take the talking points away from the memo and the IC, the FBI, the DOJ. They're going to do everything they can to get us to stop talking about that and to talk about these other things. So, okay, we need you to speak reference Vegas. The go-to guys on Vegas at this point are Shepard Ambulance of IntelliHub and Jake Morphonios, who is on YouTube. I think he's changed his name to Blackstone Intelligence. Jake is an incredible investigator. Monty had it right, too, from the beginning. But Jake Morphonios, he's concentrating on it. Shepard Ambulance is concentrating on it. This is what I'll say about it. No, Paddock is not dead on the floor in the hotel room. His biological metrics don't match up to the body on the floor, or I should say, the body on the floor don't match up to Paddock's biometrics. For instance, there was Jake Morphonios talked about the eye color of the coroner says that he has brown eyes when all the pictures of Paddock show he has blue. Just as one example. And he talks about the detached earlobe of the corpse compared to the attached earlobe of the real Paddock. So those are just two examples, but there are other things I could go through on that corpse on the floor that show it's not him. That's just one thing. If they lie about that, what else are they going to lie about? Yes, there were multiple shooters. Yes, there were casualties. Were there actors on site? Was there a drill? Yes. Yes, there absolutely was, as there always is in these things. Some of the victims probably weren't real. I'm willing to admit that, but I know for a fact some real people were shot. Okay, it's a little strange. I forget who said it here the other day, but I did hear it, and they've got a good point. I think it was on Alex Jones. It may have been Rob Dew. I'm not sure. But it was Rob Dew, as a matter of fact. He said, isn't it, it was during the SOTU, the State of the Union address. I used their channel to watch it. And wasn't that magnificent? Wasn't Trump magnificent? And those stupid Dems, I swear they are, they've got to be possessed. There's just no excuse for their behavior. But anyway, Rob Dew brought up the fact that the whole Las Vegas thing is questionable. And anyway, I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I think you get where I'm coming from. The official story is not true, not in any way, shape, or form. Anybody with any experience knows that. The sad part is that there are LVPD people. Some of them have blown the whistle, but they're pretty much keeping quiet, which is sad. Lombardo's a liar. Rouse is a liar, the FBI special agent in charge. And here we go with another example. And they'll try to say national security and all that again too. But there were people that were actually hurt during that thing. Seriously, the big question, as Rob Dew pulled up, was, supposedly there were another almost 400 and something injured. Well, knowing what a 5.56 round will do to somebody, even at 500 yards, 400 to 500 yards, and certainly a 7.62 round, what it will do, it's very odd that there haven't been any more deaths as a result of injuries. So that is a question. That is a question. I've never seen a situation like that where injured didn't die later in the process, especially with the amount of time that passed from when these people were supposedly shot. Notice I'm giving you a little leeway here. And the emergency personnel respond. So there are a lot of questions about that. But there were real shooters. There were real people being shot. Were there actors and other things that were playing along with it? Yeah, I'm sure of that. Somebody mentioned that there was an Army unit there for, I forget what it's called right now, but I guess there were some trailers there from the Army, the U.S. Army, that basically bring realism to an exercise, blood, guts, all of that. I didn't see them. I haven't seen the pictures. I don't know about that. But then other things that I know about that happen along the Strip, and the memos in some of the hotels talking about the drill and the emergency plans that they had to put into place. I have seen that. So these two things were coordinated and then blended together to give us what we see. So again, it's part real, part fake. Wow, I'm talking too much. Okay, Roy, Levi, Lambs needs to talk to you. Seems friend who's Levi. Okay, it's important for you to PM me. Where does Trump stand with the truth movement? Well, that's kind of off topic in one way. I'll just say I think Trump is real. I think he wants to do the right thing. I think in the end he wants to, for instance, uncover the truth about 9/11. I mean, he said it on the day that 9/11 happened, or shortly afterwards, that those buildings came down by explosives. So I think he wants to come out with it. I think he's just trying to manage the shock. I mean, look at what Adam Schiff's doing on the memo. He's saying that that they've changed it now substantially and they shouldn't release it. That that the information could be misconstrued by the public. The FBI and the DOJ are saying, there's information in there that's not substantially correct. Whatever. Well, what about you, FBI? When have you been substantially correct about anything lately? Zero, zilch, zip. Again, it's just a big game. They think they are the government. They are not. They answer to Congress. They answer to the executive branch, the president, not the other way around. So we just need to shut them down, They've proven they don't know what they're doing. I gave it the information at the beginning of here about if they were so damn good, why didn't they figure out about this train attack coming? Or at least be able to prevent it, you know? Oh, really? Or Garland again, or 9/11, or the Riverside shooting, and on and on and on. You know, the people running, baloney. No, they don't deserve our respect at all. They've not earned it in any way, shape, or form. No, they go after poor cattle ranchers who are just trying to make a living, you know, and then are attacked by the likes of Hillary Clinton and Harry Reid for their own purposes, bending the law, creating law that doesn't exist. No. Okay. All right, I think we're done. I don't really see a whole lot else going on here. Plus, we've really got to start watching the news again. It's getting on. Well, we've been at this for about an hour and a half again. Sorry about that. But I hope you've enjoyed it. A lot of things are going to be happening today. We're going to see the release of the memo. I'm pretty sure if it hasn't already happened, it may have already happened. If anybody's watching, I can't watch that and see it. But that may have happened. There might be some revelations about what happened on 9/11. You're going to see the deep state, the FBI, the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Obama, Clinton, Soros. They're going to be doing everything they can to change the narrative from the memo and from the revelations. They're going to be false flag attacks, both real and staged. So keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears on the ground, and keep your situational awareness up. You're going to need it. Protect yourself and your loved ones to the very best of your ability. And just know that we're in a real war. I mean, we've passed the phase line now. In the military, as I said at the beginning, you have phase lines and you have intermediate objectives, and different things happen at different times and all of that. The enemy's doing the same thing. And they're not going to take this lying down. They're not going to take it lightly. And they're going to get really nasty. So just be ready, prep, pray, and stay out of the way. And I'll leave it there for today. I want to thank you all for coming, and I really do hope that we all pray for this to go well, that the United States, the Constitutional Republic of the United States, will be saved from drowning. I mean, our heads were going down below the surface. We were going down, and it could still happen, you know. Sometimes when you're trying to save someone that's drowning, you drown too. You know that, right? So we're still in a precarious position, but I think God has given us an opportunity because we all prayed, we all sought, we all hungered and thirsted for the perfect law of liberty to be released from these chains of these evil ones. The chains that they've put on us and tried to continue to put on us and make even thicker and longer and heavier. So keep up your prayers, prep, pray, stay out of the way, and God bless you. God bless the restoration of the Constitutional Republic of the United States through this Second American Revolution, where our hearts and minds have been turned to the perfect law of liberty. And may God bless President Donald Trump in his righteous endeavors. I'm going to sign off. Thanks, everybody. And keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears on the ground. Out here.